Hey everyone, it's Mariana, and today let's talk about The Neon Demon, a highly anticipated movie for me, and one that I definitely haven't been able to stop thinking about ever since I've seen it. Now, I have a pretty love it or hate it relationship with Nicholas Winding Refn's films. I love Drive, just as most people do. I also love Bronson, and if you haven't seen that movie, you definitely need to check it out. But on the other hand, I really strongly dislike Valhalla Rising and Only God Forgives, so I was really curious which side of the spectrum the Neon Demon was going to fall on for me. This is a film about a beautiful young girl, Jessie, played by Elle Fanning, who moves to LA with a goal of becoming a model. It's a film about the cult of beauty and about narcissism and vanity and how it drives certain people to behave when beauty means success and power. And of course, it is all wrapped in the unmistakable Nicholas Winding Refn style that you kind of either love or hate. The thing about the Neon Demon is that it has this weird horror vibe to it while having a seemingly straightforward story about this girl who is being consumed by narcissism and ambition, and for a while you think that's what you're watching. You're watching a story about the corruption of innocence, if you will. However, in the third act, this movie suddenly takes a turn for insanity and some crazy fucking shit happens, which makes you walk out of this movie and think, what the fuck did I just watch? It is such a jarring change of gears. The movie feels like it changes genres almost at that point, which it really doesn't. I think it just wants you to reprocess everything you saw before that within this new perspective. However, it is really easy to come out of this movie thinking, well, that was fucking weird, and just dismissing it as weird and style over substance, which, to be fair, there's a lot of weirdness and a lot of style in this movie. That's undeniable. However, the more I think about the Neon Demon, the more I like it and the more I actually want to see it again. And I haven't been able to stop thinking about it ever since I saw it on Friday. It's Sunday today, and there's no ending to this Neon Demon zone that I'm in because now I've purchased the soundtrack on iTunes, so I've been listening to that. And since I mentioned it, I have to tell you the soundtrack is amazing. It is so fitting. It has these really interesting, haunting and kind of unsettling moments. There are a couple moments where I actually think it sounds a little bit like the It Follows soundtrack, and it fits this movie perfectly. I love it. The film does have those drawn out artistic scenes that you would expect from Nicholas Winding Refn at this point. It also has some disturbing imagery, and the pacing is generally inconsistent. There will be stretches of this movie where the pacing is very reasonable, but then everything will stop for this artistic strange scene for a bit. And this is where all of the style over substance comments come in, and I've even seen some people say that this movie is what it criticizes, but I strongly feel that that is actually the point. You could say it didn't need those scenes where it clearly just wanted you to look at the gorgeous self-indulgent shots, but taking these shots out would first of all strip the movie of its style, and why would we want all movies to be straightforward and kind of the same? But B, in the movie about narcissism, this type of self-indulgence just reinforces the point. Back to the corruption of innocence theme, I'm actually leaning towards that not being the case here. Sure, we see Jessie as this doe-eyed, naive girl in the beginning who seems to become increasingly more consumed by this competitive world of modeling, but thinking back on what she says throughout the film, it really seems to me that she always knew what kind of effect her looks have on people, and she has always enjoyed it. She just becomes more vocal about it throughout the film, which is quite different from Corruption of Innocence that it looks like in the beginning. And by the way, Elle Fanning is fantastic in this role. I don't know if anyone could have been more perfect here. I also absolutely loved Jenna Malone as Ruby, the makeup artist, even though some weird stuff happens that involves her character. The two other models are great as well, and Keanu Reeves also has a small role in this movie that is weirdly fitting for him. My issues with the Neon Demon have to do with the pacing and the jarring change in the third act, which I can mostly accept, but these things are still noticeable. I can't help wishing more of the movie was actually as nuts as the third act, or if we at least could have some kind of build up to it in the middle where the craziness would have time to escalate. I do have a comment and a question for you guys about the third act, but it is spoilery, so for those of you who haven't seen the film, I'm going to put a clickable annotation right here so you can skip this section, but for those of you who have seen it, here is a bit of a spoiler talk. I would like to know if any of you got a bit of a witch's coven feel with everything that happened towards the end. The movie definitely crosses over into horror territory with that third act, but to me it almost felt like some kind of dark fairy tale with these three women sacrificing a virgin essentially for power, which in this case is beauty. You can even think back to Stardust, where three witches want to eat the heart of the star, Claire Danes' character, in order to regain their youth and powers. And then you have the significance of the moon in the Neon Demon as well. All of this gave me the feeling that the three girls were actually some kind of coven. And I know there is absolutely a way to interpret all of this as a metaphor, and that's fine. But what's interesting is that when you watch interviews with Nicholas Winding Refn, he definitely sees this movie way more literally than people who are trying to interpret it. So if we take it at face value, it certainly has that dark, twisted fairy tale vibe for me. Let me know if any of you thought the same thing. Overall, I cannot get this movie out of my head, and the more I think about it, the more I realize how much I actually enjoyed it, and I appreciate Nicholas Winding Refn doing whatever the hell he wants in his movies, and this one is definitely an experience that sticks with you. It is not a perfect film by any means, particularly because of the pacing and the inconsistency and even some gratuitous scenes, depending on how you look at them. And I absolutely can tell you that this is not a movie for everybody. However, I also think that this is a film pretty much everybody should see and form their own opinion about it, because it is different from so many things that are out there today. And particularly, this is a film people who complain about the lack of originality in Hollywood should see. I honestly hate putting a rating on the Neon Demon, because even though a lot of my viewers are very reasonable people, there are going to be people who are going to get super hung up on the number that I give this movie. And this is the reason why I sometimes consider not rating movies at all, because when I say I would rate this movie 4 out of 5 stars, the number really isn't important. What I said in my review is important, and the nuances are important. The fact that it's not a perfect film is not as important. So if you really want me to put a number on it that is heavily influenced by my personal enjoyment, that may be very different from your perception, I would give this movie 4 out of 5 stars, but please consider everything that I said before this, and I would love to know what you guys think about this movie, because it is definitely something to discuss. That's it for my review of the Neon Demon. I would love to talk to you guys about this movie in the comments below if you have already seen it. I know it's not out everywhere right now, but if you have seen it, let's discuss it in the comments below. And if you haven't seen it, definitely something to look forward to, especially if you appreciate Nicholas Winding Refn's style. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching it. As always, if you did enjoy it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I hope you're having an awesome day, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye!